So the first question is briefly introduce yourself and your HR role within your organization.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Whitton. I'm the Director of Operations for Legendary Hospitality Group. At the moment, we have 6 venues in our portfolio, all hospitality-based, bars and restaurants. We have Dirty Nelly's on Argyle Street. We have the Stubborn Goat Gastropub reopening in November. We have the Beer Garden and the Waterfront, Saltyard Social, and Toho Taco and Tequila. Currently, we have over 300 staff as part of our venues. That will be winding down as we go into a slightly slower period. As Director of Operations, I work with all of the venues, all of the managers, making sure that we have enough staff to manage our businesses, keeping on top of controls, and communicating with them service standards and training to make sure that all of our team members are the best team members they can be, to have the best venues that they can be.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ashley Howley, and I am an HR generalist with IMP Aerospace and Defense. Our main company is IMP Group. We are contracted by the Canadian government to work on military aircraft, to service them and to repair them. We just got a new contract to actually start building search and rescue helicopters for the Canadian government. So there's lots of recruitment coming our way in the future. So I'm in charge of recruitment, retention, employee relations, labor relations, and I work with a larger group of other generalists, our HR director, and recruiters. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Coralee Gallant, and I'm a team leader with the Canada Revenue Agency in the GST-HST audit section. So that's a little bit of my regular role, but I'm also a brand ambassador for CRA, so I promote all the opportunities to students or to young professionals. CRA is a little different in their HR strategy in the sense that we have HR consultants, and it's actually the people that are doing the roles, such as team leaders or experienced auditors, that would actually be doing the recruitment process. So we would be looking for specialized type of skills, so we're there doing the interviews in consultation with our HR.
Hi, I'm Nola, Lamoureux, Spierenburg. I'm a partner with HBA Chartered Professional Accountants, which is a member of the AC Group of accounting firms. I've been there since 2011, where I started as a CGA student and worked my way up. I am what we call the HR partner. So I'm overseeing a lot of the onboarding, offboarding, recruiting, retention type stuff. I'm a member, I represent our firm on the AC Group's HR committee, where we talk about a lot of those things. And I'm also the partner representative on our boring committee. We have a committee called the Fun Committee. I don't get to be on that one. I'm on the boring committee, where we deal with a lot of HR policies and things like that.
So the second question is, describe what you're looking for in a candidate for a position with your organization, for example, school, work, volunteer, and what gaps are students missing which they can address while still in school?
Okay, so for us in hospitality, we are looking for, now I kind of use the term, we look for a lot of the buzzwords. You know, we look for people with energy, with drive, with passion, enthusiasm. You know, I'm sure you've all experienced going out to bars and restaurants when you're being served by bartenders, servers, you know, managers that are there. You know, we look for people that have got that energy and drive. Now, it's hard to get that across in a resume. But you know, we do, when we are looking at resumes, we're looking for previous experience. One thing that we do get impressed by, or personally and professionally, is when people, I was a hospitality and marketing student back in Scotland, and when I worked at university, I worked part-time, you know, and that for me was going to give me the step up into potentially getting a job post-graduation. The importance of showing an employer that, one, you're willing to learn and study the basics in school, but the actual putting that into reality while you are studying at school is something that impresses me. I'd probably look at a resume more that had work experience than one that just had straight college and university experience without actually spending a bit of time and energy and a bit of hustle. I use the term hustle a lot, and it's hard to see that from a resume, but if I'm looking at somebody that has studied for 4 years and worked for 4 years, that tells me somebody, because I know how inflexible scheduling can be, and specifically in hospitality and with a course timetable, some of the only jobs that I know you can get are really based in hospitality, because you're in school from kind of 8 to 5 or kind of 10 to 3, and you have a relatively inflexible schedule when it comes to that, and there's not a lot of jobs that do give you an opportunity to do that. But in hospitality, you're dealing with people. You have, if you're lucky to be in an organization that has structure and that has training, you can learn a lot of life skills while being in work, being able to handle under pressure. You learn the specifics of those roles. You can learn about food, learn about drinks, learn about dealing with people, not just customers, but the people that you work with. You can learn how to manage and your time, making sure that you are organized for your shifts, and all of the things. That is something that impresses me when it comes to looking at a resume. We've got a lot of different positions in our businesses, from front of house facing to back of house facing as well. We need accountants, we need chefs, we need cleaners. We need a lot of different roles for our organization, and they're not all the same. And we appreciate that everybody is not also the same, and that for, getting that off a resume is something that is difficult. One thing that I would say, which was not a hard rule, but something that was taught to me when I was kind of growing up in school. If you jump into a hospitality business between either a lunch service, between kind of 12 and 2, or between 5 and 7, I can tell you right now, if you did that in any of my organizations, I'd throw away your resume. Because if you walk in looking to speak to a manager during a dinner service or a lunch service, if that venue is a busy spot, that manager is not going to take away from dealing with a customer to then sit down and go with you. So when you're dropping in resumes or looking to speak to a manager, you go in the mornings before service, or you go in the afternoons, or you go in the evenings. But do not, in my opinion, go into a busy restaurant and or bar between the hours of busy lunch service and dinner service and ask to speak to the manager, because I throw away that resume without even looking at it. Now, I probably missed a good couple of rock stars, but that was something I taught, and that's what, I don't want a manager doing an interview during lunch service. I don't want a manager being distracted from a customer during that busy time, because the focus of our business is the customer in front of them at all times.
So what we look for in our organization is a passion for the industry. Not everyone knows what aerospace is, and that's perfectly fine, or what we actually do it in aerospace, but a curiosity or a passion to learn is something that we look for in our organization. A strong work ethic and ability to multitask and take on multiple projects. Especially when you're first coming into the organization, you're learning. It's really great to kind of get a sense of what every department does, or kind of every facet of what your department does. We look for students who have a project management background, because we are taking on a lot of projects, so we want someone to have that knowledge in project management. Also, somebody who has done multiple co-ops or even just one co-op. If you have the option to opt in or opt out of a co-op, you should always opt in. Having that well-rounded experience looks really great on a resume, and it's really great to speak to in an interview. Also a good handle on anything IT. We're always looking for people who are really great with Excel, because not everybody is. I am not. I will admit that. So people that can come in and do spreadsheets and do really great things with spreadsheets, really is something that we look for. But basically just having a good attitude as well, being energetic, coming in with a great attitude and just wanting to learn is something we absolutely look for.
So CRA has a wide variety of opportunities for people in all different backgrounds. Specifically in my section, you would need some specific accounting courses in order to obtain a position, but there are other opportunities as well for those who, aren't specializing in accounting. There are lots of opportunities for those as well. So, if ever you see any opportunities on our website, just make sure that you meet the requirements, but there are lots out there that isn't specific for accounting. If you have accounting, please. definitely, a little fight over here. Definitely some things that are important for us are soft skills. So you can expect that probably in an interview process, we are going to try to, determine, how effective you are at communicating, how you can handle a difficult situation, because one can assume that maybe conversations with CRA are not always the most pleasant. So, you have to be able to handle yourself, of course. So that's a big thing. Obviously, Excel is a huge thing that we use, so we look for, students who maybe have taken courses in Excel or who are good at that. So that's a skill that, it might be a little bit more difficult learning curve if you really have no experience in Excel. A big asset for us is being bilingual. So there is a myth that working for the federal government that you have to be bilingual. It's not a requirement, though, again, if you're bilingual, definitely apply with us for sure. It opens lots of doors. Any customer service experience is really portable to CRA because you could be dealing with difficult situations. You could be, you're trying to problem solve, things like that. So it's very portable to us. I'd also say that volunteering, we have the CVITP program where you can volunteer to help people with low income to do their taxes. So that's something that, when we see that on a resume, we take that as oh, that's, great that somebody has that experience and that they've, been involved with the community and in relation to taxes. There's also programs in schools and things that would help you, like Toastmasters, to help you, speak in public, because you are going to, in most roles at CRA, have conversations with the general public. So some people have a little bit of a harder time with that. So those are all things that you really could do to help out, kind of build your resume up. And I will say for us, the biggest thing is when you apply, make sure you put that effort into, writing your cover letter and submitting a resume. I don't know how many, cover letters or resumes that it's directed to IMP or, so I would say if that shows kind of the effort that somebody's putting into the application, I probably, again, would just throw the resume aside and not really pay attention to it.
What's really great is I'm at the end of this row, so everything they said applies to me too. Seriously, things like making sure you have that drive. Do you work during going to university? So that's the first person who said. Do your co-ops, absolutely. We love people who have co-ops. Be bilingual. We have French clients as well. Seriously, everything they said totally applies. We are looking for people with customer service experience. We are a customer service focused industry. You think accountants, you think boring people sitting in the back doing calculators. Yeah, some of it's that, but a lot of it is actually client focused. So we want people who have worked in an office if you can, whether that's part-time, whether that's summer vacations, whatever. But even if you've worked in customer service so that you've got that experience, that's really useful. We want people who can talk to clients. We want people who are not afraid to pick up the phone. So one of the parts of this question was, what gaps do you notice? People who can't talk on the phone is one of our biggest gaps. And it's really funny because everybody likes to text now, but we need people who can call old clients on the phone too. And we're looking for people who can follow instructions. But following instructions doesn't mean do it exactly the same as last year. So accounting problems, lots of times you're but this isn't exactly like the one we did as an example. No, that's how real life works. The test and the example aren't the same. So, thanks.
So when students get their first job after graduation, what advice would you offer them? What mistakes should they avoid?
Yeah, that was a tough one when I, when we got the panel questions in advance, so just to give you a heads up. that was kind of a tough one because I always feel that there's no one answer for that. Every organization is different, every manager is different, every business is different. One of the things I was taught kind of growing up is, growing up in the business as it were, was that everybody has to be managed and dealt with differently. So you might deal with a member of staff differently than you would another person. How do you get that person to respond to coaching? How do you get that person to respond to being comfortable in delegation? How do you get that person to get the best out of that person? We talk about the most basics of aces in places and putting the best people in the best sections for the best roles. When you start at an organization, you have to take your time. My recommendation would be to take your time in that business because every business is different. There's no hard and fast rule. You need to get to know the organization, you need to get to know the people, the culture. All of those things will may give you an informed idea of how to work in that business and how to grow in that business. Some businesses are looking for people to come in and change the world. Some people are looking to kind of come and bring those game changers into business. We want great ideas constantly to be changing our business. And then other organizations are, well, we've done this for a long while. We know what we're doing. We want you to come in and just go with the flow. And if you keep your head down and do a good job, you will progress through that business. So every business is different. Every manager is different. Every opportunity is unique. And one of the things is take your time. There's no rush. When you get that job, take your time, get to know the culture, get to know the people, spend time in that business and with those people. Talk to your managers, talk to the staff around you, get to know them, be social, be interactive, and be involved. I've always believed that's something that, although work-life balance is important and a 9-to-5 mentality or a 12 to 10, whatever that shift, but spend time in the business socially and get to know the people and interact because you spend as much time in your business normally as you would do with your family. It's pretty much a second family. So you want to be able to enjoy what you do. And if you don't enjoy it, don't continue doing it. There's 101 opportunities out there, and if you're not enjoying what you do and it's making you unhappy, think about doing something different or changing how you can go. No job is a prison sentence. No job is where you have to be. There's always opportunities to move, and if you're not happy, the best idea for you in that business is to move on. But what you want to do is learn to be happy and understand so you can go into your job and enjoy. One of the mistakes, that I had as well is first impressions absolutely matter. And I should actually mention this in the last question there. When you are either dropping off a resume or you're doing an interview, there's nothing worse than a bad first impression. Somebody rocking up to an interview with a hoodie and a pair of jeans is not going to impress a hiring manager. Something as simple as a kind of a strong handshake, eye contact, being calm and kind of having that kind of conversation, not getting flustered. And, those are the things that we would consider to be a potential mistake when kind of hiring employees. So first impressions absolutely matter.
So one of the things that I can recommend is having a well-rounded education. So not just going to your classes that pertain to your major, but also maybe taking some classes that are outside of your major as well, like leadership classes. Things that would give you basic skills to be able to work in a workplace. Communication classes. Also doing things like volunteering. I know that was mentioned earlier this morning. Volunteering will give you your basic life skills as well, and you'll be able to perform better in interviews, and also that'll add to the skills that you can bring to an organization. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for maybe more opportunities in a business. I really want to learn this. What can I do to get there? Don't be afraid to ask that of your managers or your peers. Don't be afraid to network, especially within an organization. If you get into an organization and you're doing your work, but you're interested in another department, don't be afraid to go meet the managers in that department and ask what they do. Ask what you can do to get into that department. And don't be afraid to network outside of the business either. LinkedIn is a really great tool. If you are looking to get into an organization, search who the HR people are and message them. Say, I'm interested in this opportunity. There's sometimes I get 100 resumes for one job, and whoever messages me on LinkedIn, I might remember them when I'm going through resumes. So don't be afraid to get on LinkedIn and put your name out there.
I would say some advice that I could give you guys if you guys have an opportunity to work at CRA is really take the feedback that your supervisor provides you. So I think it's really important, take that feedback as constructive criticism, but apply it moving forward, I think any supervisor, wants to see you succeed. They're there to help you. They're there to give you feedback. But they don't want to see the same error being committed over and over again. So I find sometimes some people take that criticism and it's one and done sort of thing. So just, be mindful if somebody's taking the time to give you some feedback, to really take that into consideration and determine how you can apply that moving forward. I'd also say that a big piece of advice that I'd like to give students starting a new role is, try things on your own. We have lots of people that, come in and they're like, well, how do you do this? And we do try to give you, all the tools and resources at your disposal. And, by all means, if you have questions, we love to see that. But sometimes what happens is, oh, I need to write a letter. Can you write the letter for me? Well, no, that's your job. Try, and I will give you feedback. So, maybe the first time it's not going to be perfect, but the best way to learn is to really try. So we really like to see people who take the initiative on their own and just, would rather see somebody make some mistakes than just not try at all.
And again, I'm going to sound like I'm repeating what other people have said, but I promise I wrote this down on my piece of paper. Treat your job like a career. It might only last for a couple of months, but it might be a job that you're in for a really long time. If you're only there for a couple of months, you're still making great connections. You're meeting clients, you're meeting other professional people. They're going to help you along the way if you treat them well. But then again, don't be afraid to switch gears. So you might find yourself in a job and you think, oh, this is a great job. And then a few months in, you're like, this is not the right industry for me at all. Switch. Most of the people I work with did not start out as accountants. I didn't get my accounting designation until I was almost 40. My partner at the accounting firm, he started off in finance. We've got people who started in geology, people who started in real estate. Don't be afraid to change.
How has COVID-19 impacted your HR strategies for recruitment and retention?
I'll go first. Sure, no problem. It didn't really change a whole lot. We had a little bit of more demand because of all of the COVID stuff that happened, but really, even before COVID happened, we were doing some online recruiting. We were doing, virtual interviews. We have some work from home. It did increase that. It increased our ability to switch and be able to work from home, which I think is something that a lot of people appreciate. So that's helping with our retention. Otherwise, COVID didn't impact things as much as you might think.
I would say the complete opposite for us. So virtual was not really a thing at CRA. We did not have Microsoft Teams before that. So, now you'd be expected that if you're going to do an interview with CRA, it would most likely be virtual. Previously, we would have to, get you into the office, and definitely makes things go a little faster when you're able to do it virtually. We also, put messaging out more on social media platforms. I have a LinkedIn account where I promote some of the local opportunities. We've also, had an increase in hiring due to new programs. The pandemic probably also made a lot of people retire because they were a little nervous about everything. We do some virtual reporting now as well, so you could be hired to work in Ontario and work in Nova Scotia, so we see a lot more of that than we used to. We also have a hybrid model at work where we work a portion of the time from the office and a portion of the time from home. We've also had lots of different strategies that we've tried as well, so trying to promote hiring maybe fourth-year students that we haven't had a chance to hire previously, hiring them part-time in their last year in hopes that maybe we would find somebody who would be a good fit with us. I also do lots of, messaging on LinkedIn as well, just of student opportunities, any kind of opportunities in collections, things like that. So, if ever you want to, get your foot in the door somewheres, like collections would be somewheres that people can start for sure, especially if you don't have an accounting background. We've also done a lot of things like making more competitive offers. So CRA is bound by, a certain salary that they need to follow. So there's different levels for the salary, but previously we always started somebody who started at CRA. They would start at the lowest salary dollar for that specific level. And now we're being more competitive because we know there's a need to hire people. So we've had like the opportunity to, maybe offer some higher salaries for people who, have the experience that we're really looking for.
At IMP, we didn't have a lot of resignations during COVID. We had a lot of retirements. So that forced us to go elsewhere to find candidates across Canada, different other streams of recruitment. We had to go onto LinkedIn. So we included relocation and partial tuition reimbursement as an incentive to come work for us, especially during the pandemic. Some of our staff had moved to a flexible work option. Some of our staff work on airplanes, so they can't work from home. So that was, a lot of our staff did work on site during COVID. We do have we're working on more of a hybrid model now, so people can work from home or come into the office.
Yeah, I try not to talk about COVID because of the pain and misery of how it hit hospitality. There's no hybrid model for us. There's no work from home. The bars and restaurants are open or they're not. And if they're not, everybody's laid off, and it's soul destroying to be in that scenario where you've had employees that have worked. Our business has been legendary for almost 15 years now, and we've got a number of employees who have worked behind the bars or in the kitchens for 10, 12 years, and these people were laid off. There was no hybrid model. There was no ability to work from home. There was a very basic takeout option, which was not really something that was worthwhile for anybody to really do. So that was the pain and misery of that. When we were all able to reopen and move on, the whole world changed. We lost a lot of people that did not want to work in hospitality anymore. A lot of people took that time to get a new job. A lot of people went to a hybrid model where people had never had computer skills but had time on their hands to learn computer skills. So we were seeing line cooks and chefs and culinaries, people being like, well, I'm not going back to work 16 hours in a basement kitchen for minimum wage. I'm going to teach myself a new skill, and I'm going to do a job that is going to allow me to work from home. I'm going to get more money, more breaks, more of a different mentality, because to be honest, hospitality can be pretty brutal. It's not a 9 to 5. It's not a 5-day, 44-hour week. If you are working for a 7-day-a-week, 24-hour-a-week business, you may well have to pull in some big hours and big days, and some of those days cannot be rewarding. Majority are, and if you can find a great organization with great people, there's nothing more fulfilling than going in and enjoying what you do and creating those legendary experiences for the people around you. But there is no hybrid model. There is no ability to do that. What we found was it was a struggle to rehire people after COVID because people had been sitting in their houses for a couple of years. So when the bars and restaurants did open, there was a huge influx of people wanting to come. All of our organization have had record years since COVID. They've just gone through the absolute roof. And we have struggled to have enough staff to be able to deal with that. We've struggled to be able to maintain staff who had the passion and energy and ability to be able to cope with those levels of numbers and the work that we have had to kind of put on their plates and that we've all had to do. We're getting better now. We're looking at temporary foreign workers for certain positions, and we're going down that avenue to help recruit and keep the base of employees at a level that we need to be at our industry, to keep on dealing with the demands of that. We're doing everything we can do to retain our staff, to give them good work-life balance. We are, kind of really working hard to, one of the things that we are learning at the moment is to look after everybody's mental health. It's such a massive part of the struggles of COVID. It's not something that growing up in hospitality I ever, got experience of, but now we are making sure that we are putting sick days into contracts. We're allowing we're promoting the fact that we do mental health days for people to take that time off. And ultimately, when you're sick, you stay home. And that's not something that was always the case in a lot of businesses. But now it is a case of if you are sick, you stay home, and we build in models that we can help maintain service standards even if people are not going to be well enough to work. So it's been a massive challenge in hospitality, as all industries. We're turning the corner, we're getting consistency, and hopefully we don't have to go back to that model from there. But yeah, it is the pain and misery of talking about COVID for everybody. But we are moving on, and we've learned from it, and hopefully we can keep on continuing to move forward.
Last question, where do you see opportunities for jobs in your organization over the next 2 to 4 years? Once the students get their foot in the door, they want to progress in their careers. What does career progression look like in your organization? What advice would you give students who aspire to advance within the organization?
So we sort of have 3 different areas where we're looking for people, administrative, technicians, and then the CPA stream. And then our biggest people that we're looking for right now is actually managers. And we can't hire managers, so we're trying to grow managers. So that's what progression looks like for us right now, is we're taking people who are in some of those streams. So we have technicians who've been with us for a while who are moving up more into a managerial type roles. We have CPA students who have written the CFE. We're so excited and hoping for good marks so that we can immediately promote them to be a manager. I started as a CGA student. I moved up, I started reviewing files, I became a staff accountant and manager, and now I'm a partner. So there's a very clear progression in our industry. Not everybody has to go that route. Some people want to be a technician and stay as a technician, and that works great. Let's see here, where was I going? Oh, things to do if you want to advance. So again, we're going to come back to some stuff that other people said earlier. Ask questions. But don't just ask a question, come to me with a potential solution. So if you're not sure what to do, try something. Think it through. That's the kind of stuff that gets recognized. That's the kind of stuff that helps advance your career. We want you to try. We want you to make mistakes. We want you to learn from your mistakes. Some of the stuff that we do offer in our group, though, is we have like a mentorship program in our firm. So everybody in the firm has a mentor to help them figure out what their individual career path is. Everybody is different, but everybody has a path. Yeah.
So I would say CRA has been exponentially growing in the last few years. We've had some difficulties with keeping up in the demand. Say we're a little better than maybe 2 years ago. We were having a lot of hard time recruiting, but things seem to be a little bit more stable now, but we still have lots of opportunities. Career progression looks significantly different today than it did. I started 15 years ago at CRA. It was quite a slower pace. Today, if you enter the organization and you're a good employee, the opportunities for advancement are pretty much endless. We've hired at higher levels externally, which is something we had never really previously did or rarely did. So I don't really see any of that slowing down anytime soon. Some advice that I can give you guys for career progression, if ever you come work with us at CRA, again, we also have a mentorship program as well. So it's not mandatory, but it's something that's available. And so, if you really want to see, maybe I aspire to be, a team leader, a manager, you can job shadow those people. You can, have somebody buddied up with you that they're going to help you grow your skills to get to that, position that you aspire to get to. We have educational support for people if they want to advance their education. It's really important, though, to find something that you love. So CRA has lots of different opportunities. Audit isn't for everybody. Appeals, collections, people stay in some of those positions maybe a little too long, but there's lots of different opportunities there. So I always encourage people that if you don't really love what you're doing, there might be something else out there, whether it be with CRA or in another organization. But you do spend a lot of time working, so you don't want to be unhappy. Don't count yourself out of opportunities. So, if you see an opportunity that you think you might be good at, apply. There's lots of times during my career where I applied, I was not, I didn't have a significant amount of experience, but the application process helped me when I did have that experience. And it gave me those tools to, be a better interviewer and, not be nervous during an interview, and to go and ask for feedback during those interview processes. Ask, is there any skills that I should obtain to, better my application in the future? Or is there something that I'm doing during an interview process, where I could, improve on? Also things like getting in on committees to network, so that definitely helps. Some people will go their whole career at CRA and never be on a committee. There's lots of committees to join. That helps with career progression as well. Work hard, find learning opportunities to improve your skills, and talk to your manager about your aspirations. So, your manager is always there to help you and to guide you along the way. So, they're there to, try to find opportunities for you and if you want more challenges.
So at IMP, like I said, we have an aging workforce, so there's a lot of retirements happening, and we have a lot of projects coming up. So we're pretty much hiring right across the board, anywhere from airframe mechanics, avionics, up to engineering, planning, finance, and even HR, and program management as well. Program management is a big one coming up because we have a lot of projects that are coming, so we need people to lead them. We also have positions coming up in IT and security as well, working for our customers, the Department of National Defense. So there's a lot of security that goes with that. So cyber attacks, getting people passes to enter the premises, to be on the runway. We are at the airport, so we do see a lot of cool planes coming in and out as well, which is a really big perk. But that security is there, so we're going to be hiring a lot of security staff and IT coming up as well. As far as promotions, we promote about 60 to 70% internal. When we have a position come up, we do look internal first to see who is ready to take on maybe a higher level position, whether that's in management or maybe it's something in another department. You should, like I said before, really try to network with other departments if you're interested. A lot of our students that come in will do that, especially in engineering. There's a lot of different engineers, so they will get into one department and network with another department because they're interested in a project they're doing in that department. Also talk to your manager if you have a desire to grow within the organization. You can talk about your plans and where you want to be, and they can help you get there. One of the tools that we use to help you get there is performance appraisals. So every year we do a performance appraisal, and we talk about objectives and where you want to be and where your career progression, where you want to go in the organization. And that can help you get to the next opportunity.
Very similar to everybody else on the panel. Legendary has a bit of a unique situation that we have two of our properties that are seasonal, the beer garden and salt yard. So every May we hire about 150 staff for that property, and it closes at the end of October. So we see a lot of people, we do a lot of recruitment, we put a lot of people into those properties that may never have worked for the organisation before. And we use that as an opportunity to look at those teams, find some rock stars in there and see if we can progress them into our brick and mortars. Out of the 4 permanent organizations that we have, all 4 GMs were promoted from within. So we really like to push for our rock stars throughout our business that start as either dishwashers, support staff, turn into supervisors, then turn into floor managers, assistant managers, deputy general managers, and GMs. We do a lot of training, we do a lot of progression from within, and we look for that pretty much from that first interview process. One of those standard questions, what do you want to be in 3 to 5 years? And if somebody goes, I want to run my own place, I'm like, okay, well, let's invest that time in you, because we might want to run your own place, but maybe you can run one of our places. You know, Legendary is looking to grow and expand into more organizations, and we want to have people that can lead those organizations and learn in the culture of the business. So progression for us is massive, and it can be literally from your first day in the most entry-level positions, and within anything from 2, 3, 5, 7 years, you could be the GM of one of our properties. And then from there, you could move into an operations role. You can move into we've got marketing, we've got accounts, so there's opportunities not just to be completely customer facing within our organization. So it's always about that starting off on the front foot straight away, letting us know what your intents are, speaking to us regularly. Anytime that we do any kind of training or events or anything at all, be there. Be the first person to arrive. When they ask for those awkward questions, put your hand up and ask questions. Those are the things that we see as senior managers. I remember the people who go and ask questions of those invited guests that come in. What I also remember is the guy sitting in the corner in his hoodie on his phone the entire time, and think that's not the person that's going to progress through our business. So just remember that you're always on show, but when you go to these organized either events and or meetings and or training sessions that all of our businesses probably do as semi-mandatory, you know, show up and represent if you want to progress throughout the business. Yeah, that kind of falls into the advice and the aspiration within the organization as well, and just kind of following on from everything that everybody said.
Okay, now is the opportunity to audience to ask questions. Does anyone has a question? Yeah.
Hello, I'm Pamela. I'm an SCC Business Tourism student. I have question all of you that when you hire or which person do you prefer to work with? So first, the person who has really passion and enthusiasm and positive, but when work, not as much as good as you expect. Or the other person who has not that motivated and not that enthusiasm, but very good skill to deal with when you work or when they work. So which person do you prefer work with? And another question is when you interview someone, what the most important thing you want to see the characteristic from the person.
Okay, so I'll do the second question first. For me, as I mentioned, first impressions. So I want to see, you know, as basic as a simple good handshake, good eye contact, and one of the first questions I normally ask is, why did you apply? And I want to see somebody who's taken a little bit of time to know about our organization, know about what we do, and be like, I want to work in this place. I know that you have 5 properties. I know that, you know, Antojo does Mexican food. I know that I want somebody to show that they've done a little bit of homework before they turn up, and not just be like, yeah, I used to serve at a place and I like the job. I like serving people. I want to know someone who's actually taken the time to look at our organization. Some things that do very impress me is when people actually know a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I've got a LinkedIn profile. If somebody came to an interview and actually, you know, tailored a bit of the conversation to some mutual ground that I have with me, that would super impress me. And so it's about just going that extra mile in that interview process. It would really impress me. And the first question about the passion and energy or the methodical person, I think I'm probably a little bit biased. I want that passion and energy. I want it in the interview. I want it during the job. And I will not accept if it disappears. And that's why we have a 3-month probationary period, because an interview is not the be all and end all. I think we've all had situations where people interview fantastically well. They know this and like, this person is going to be a rock star. You give them the job, they turn up and they just start phoning it in, or they don't start turning up, or their attitude is not there and they're all just, you know, all talk without follow through. If they don't have that follow through, there's coaching. You know, that's one thing that we utilize for our management teams and our staff. And ultimately, if they're not the right person for the organization, they don't buy in, it's a handshake and a move on. And that's okay. You know, every business, as I mentioned, is not right for everybody. But I want that passion, energy from first meeting all the way throughout that person's career.
We have more questions? No? Sorry.
I'm going to answer them the other way around, the way you asked them. Passion, absolutely, passion. I can teach technical skills. I cannot teach drive. So if you want to work for me and you want my organization to succeed, I will take that all day over I'm really good at working back quietly in the corner. That is really important. And I'm not saying technical isn't important. Technical is important, but I can teach a lot of the gaps for that. And then for the interview question, it's not like one thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for, do you fit? Like, does what you're saying fit with how our organization behaves? So I hope that answers.
Do we have more questions?
So I have a question. At the beginning, you said you look for persons with experiences, right? But yet still, for example, I come to your company to get experience, and you look at my resume and realize that I do have experience in what I'm looking for. How can I go about that?
It's the most fairest comment that everybody's ever said. You know, how do you get experience without getting experience? How do you get your foot in the door? And then when I talk about that kind of first impression-wise, you know, if somebody has no experience and they're looking for a position in an organization, they turn up and they're suited and booted, they're clean cut, and they're just, you know, giving that vibe that I want to work for this organization, and they're like, and they own it, and be like, look, I don't have the experience, but I want to learn. I want to do these sort of things. We have entry-level positions in our business. You know, we have what we call a support staff position, which is somebody who basically we teach the most basics of our business. It's running food, it's bar backing, it's getting ice for our bartenders. That is an opportunity where you learn. We normally use like a 3 to 6 month progression period of being a support staff member, and then we train them to become servers. You know, we don't just hire experienced staff. We hire people with that energy, drive, and passion. And I've hired hundreds of people that have got no experience, but they get me in an interview or they find me at the right time, and I hire them because of something, because of a spark, because of that something. Doesn't always work, doesn't always happen, but when it does, you just got to get in front of the right person at the right time. You got to sell yourself. You got to own the fact that you might not have experience, but that you want it. And if you show me that you want it, I will give you that opportunity.
I will add to that as well. And at IMP, we look at co-ops or work terms as experience. So if you have the opportunity to do one, do it. And do one in something that you're very interested in. If you don't have the opportunity to do a co-op or a work term, put your hobbies down. Talk about your hobbies, things that you like to do outside of the workplace. Make sure that your resume is interesting. You have those things highlighted. If you don't have the experience, it was mentioned, you can't teach passion, you can't teach drive. We can fill in the gaps with things that maybe you don't know, and we do have a lot of entry-level positions at our organization where we don't expect you to know everything right out of the gate. That's why you're coming to work, because you want that experience, you want to move up in the company. But attitude and being coachable and learning and being enthusiastic about the business that you're interviewing for speaks volumes as well.
I'd also say for student positions, we're really not expecting a whole lot in the way of experience. So, you know, lots of experience, even though, you know, you're working in an office. If you have no experience working in an office, it doesn't mean that you don't have any experience. You could have worked somewhere else, or you could have volunteered somewhere, or maybe, you know, you were part of a sports team or anything like that. That experience is portable to employment. So, you know, make sure that you highlight those skills that you gained from those other experiences, even though it's not necessarily the work experience that you're applying for. That goes a long way.
Yeah, what they said. I was going to just add societies. You know, like there are societies at the university. Join a society. Join the, you know, be the president of the business society or whatever societies you can get into. Make your own societies. There's lots of options. Volunteer, absolutely. I'm looking at Shirley because, you know, I'm on the. I volunteer for boards. Now, as a partner, I still find volunteering very rewarding, and it's something that I look for. So I'm on the Halcon board. You know what Halcon is, right? Yeah, that is valuable experience, okay?
We have one more question, right? Here, yeah.
So we know that people are switching jobs more frequently in the workplace. So I just wanted to ask, from sort of a managerial perspective, what's the most important thing you've learned when navigating this new business space that we're in, where people are constantly moving into different industries and positions at different companies?
So with COVID, and especially since COVID, I've noticed a lot of people do move from job to job a lot. And, I think maybe the past way of thinking was that, oh, they don't like to stay at an organization too long, right? I look at it as they're looking for different experiences, right? So if I look at a resume and I see somebody who has spent a year at one organization, maybe 6 months at another, during the interview, I'll ask them, what are you looking for? What is the experiences that maybe you didn't get at those other jobs that we can offer you here, right? So I'm a firm believer in, yes, we are interviewing a candidate, but the candidate is also interviewing us as well. They're also looking at us like, what can you offer me? What, outside of pay and benefits, what opportunities can you offer me to grow and learn? So I think that, in the previous companies wouldn't look at those resumes, maybe wouldn't hire somebody that did that job top as per se, but I look at it as a chance to, oh, that person is looking for something and maybe we have it, and we can have that discussion and we can work together to, help them get there. I think that answers your question.
I would say, just as like a candidate is not the right fit for the position, sometimes the position is not the right fit for the candidate. So, we see that people are looking for opportunities elsewhere, whether it is within the organization or in another organization. So I think, the key is that people need to be happy when they're working every day. You spend a lot of time, doing, hopefully something you love, right? So, as a manager, I guess the way that we deal with it is, we do see a lot of, experienced staff usually retiring or moving on to like higher level positions, sort of thing. So for us, it's, just really trying to take that time to really develop like the staff that are new there so they have a good experience, because, any new job can be overwhelming. So I think for us, it's, just taking that time to make sure that somebody has all the tools and resources that they need to grow within that job. And then as a manager, identifying if somebody's really, stagnant in their position, or they just don't have that passion for that job, is to really help them, maybe find something else that's better suited for them. Sometimes people don't have the, necessary skills for that position, and maybe they can't learn them, or maybe it's just, they're just not a people person, and so talking on the phone is maybe just not what they want to do, and they'd rather be in the background. So, trying to find the right fit on both ends.
I'm going to answer that a little differently, because I've learned, because I expect everybody in this room to be moving through their organizations and become managers. So if I can give a little bit of advice for when you become that manager and then you hire managers, or you develop staff from entry-level positions to managers and they move. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way, was not to take it personally. When I was, like a young manager and I'd had that person I'd developed and they moved to another job, it kind of made me really a little bit upset. I'd invested that time and energy in them, and I was like, why are they going and leaving after I've invested so much time in them? But it took me a little while to realize that was just to better progress themselves, and that's also what I did. But I did struggle. I actually fell out with people, growing up in the industry, that I took it personally when they left my organization or they left my business. And it took me a little while to kind of grow up and realize that was just an opportunity for them to progress, which is exactly what I had done in my career as well. So I give that advice to you guys as future managers, rather than what I've done is to learn from my mistakes a little bit from that. And when somebody does leave you after investing time, it's okay. And again, it's a business, it's a job, and it's not the end of the world. You can still be friends with that person, and you can still grow and develop you.
All right, thank you to our panelists for your time, knowledge, and expertise. We'd like to present you with a small token of our appreciation. Thank you.